All right, welcome back to the Spend Life Well show. We've been talking with Holly, my CFO and significant other. We've been married for 32 plus years, and we've been talking about money and marriage and how we handle those things. Let's talk just a minute, Holly, about different roles and responsibilities, and then boundaries and stuff when it comes to money. So let's talk about some of the roles, because I think a lot of people still have that attitude that we need to have his and hers and ours. And I think the biblical model is really more about it's ours as a household, our responsibility. It is our money that we've been blessed with, and we are just managers of that. So there is no his, hers, and ours. With that said, let's talk a little bit about kind of the roles and responsibilities had. You've been the budgeteer, CFO for off and on for a long time, but you kind of stuck with it because, number one, you have the patience. And for me, I don't have the patience to get into the details a lot, but it requires that. It requires a lot of work.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to, if you're going to account for every penny, you got to account for every penny.
So what are some of the programs and systems we've used over the years? Many of them are not here anymore, but
I don't know if I remember the names.
I know we used Quicken for a little while. That was frustrating a little bit. Then we used Dave Ramsey app and things, and then it never seemed to balance.
I think that one is gone now.
Yeah, that one's gone. Now they have FaithFi has Everyday Steward or whatever that app is called, for faithfi.com. And that one's been better, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you were basically the software beta tester for Dave Ramsey's group because you kept finding flaws in their program. That may be why they stopped it. But you were kind of responsible for taking on that burden. Can you talk about that? Was that difficult?
Yes and no. Yes, because it is a lot of work that you kind of don't realize, keeping track of it all, reconciling things, just making sure you know where everything's going. But it also brought a sense of, probably a false sense of control, but still a sense of control that you know, as sort of a security, because you know where things are, you know what money's saved, you know, you don't have to worry about anything being secret because it's all right in front of you.
Well, like one of the things that I really like about what you do is you set aside money for future bills, right? So you'll set aside in savings for, a life insurance premium that's only due once a year.
Or like you've talked about many times before with Christmas. I know it's coming, and I know
it's coming.
So I know.
But how many of us are taking out Christmas payday loans or Christmas credit union loans and things? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's easy to prepare. You just set aside money for those occasions. You know that your child has a birthday every year on the same day, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
And so you can plan for that. And I like the fact that Holly sets aside things for future expenses. Not that we have now, but that just means we have to have cash flow coming in as income so that you can take that $50 and set it aside for a future use.
Well, in worst case scenario, if you have a horrible, horrible emergency, you've got that money on top of your emergency fund.
On top of your emergency fund.
If it was just something catastrophic that you needed it, it's there.
And so I'm very much a cash-oriented accountant, if you will. I'm not an accountant, but that's kind of how I see things: money in, money out. How do you keep up with it? And so I never ask Holly how much money she saved up in the things for future expenses. I just don't ask. That way I don't know, because in my mind it's like, oh, there's $1,000 over here. We can use that. And now we do talk about the emergency fund from time to time, because we do have things pop up and we try to refund that as quickly as possible. But that's an ongoing conversation. So you're the managing accountant, if you will, keeping up with the expenses and planning for the future and things. And, we'll talk from time to time about what's going on there. But we've done this for so long that I really don't need to ask what's going on.
Well, and you're the big picture future planner, obviously investor.
Right. I'm big picture. She's the day-to-day household manager.
Monthly, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just how it's worked for us. For someone else, you can kind of decide what first. I don't think that you want to just each other say, well, you do this and I'll do that, you've got to have some level of comfort. And you weren't comfortable at first with doing the budget stuff. It was very frustrating for you, I remember.
Well, and
It
it was
probably
hard.
still is.
Well, and it was hard because if you do have regular meetings, it can be uncomfortable at times. It can be a hard conversation to talk about.
Well, that's why it's important to
So,
pray beforehand,
yes.
so that you invite the Holy Spirit in to mitigate.
And it humbles everyone before you talk.
That's right. That's right. So one of the last points here that we wanted to talk about was really, folks, you don't do it alone. You don't do it alone. You need to meet with a financial advisor. Now, I'm a financial advisor, but we still consult with financial advisors outside of our office sometimes so that we can get their perspective on it. It's very important. So don't just assume that because I'm a financial advisor, financial planner, that we just go with what I say. No, we have very deliberate conversations with other professionals. Holly doesn't get involved in those that much, but I do, and with our CPA and lawyers and things of that nature, because most importantly, I want to make sure that she is secure. So if something happens to me, that she is secure. And I've written a letter to her that this is what she's supposed to do and who she's supposed to contact. Here's where the
Like
accounts
12
are.
points on it.
Yeah, it's like 12 points. I couldn't sleep one night, so I'm going to write a letter to her. And it's there to guide her so that she knows, she doesn't have to worry about that because she knows she's got this letter that says, here's who you call for this, and here's who you do this. And, this is who you can marry, this is who you can't marry. No, we don't do that. But she does have a list of kind of, here's the people that will help you that know about our situation. I think
you
that's
trust.
important. That I trust, yes. And I've had to revise that from time to time because there's some people that you thought you could trust, but maybe you didn't. But, that's a continual updating type thing. You want to take time before you're married, though. And we didn't have any marital counseling that
Yes, we
talked
did.
about money.
Oh, that talked
No,
about
we
money.
had marital counseling, but
Not about
but they don't talk about money. Now, I know some programs at our church and another church in town, they do talk about money, and it's very high level cursory conversation about, okay, what do y'all, are y'all going to do a budget together? Okay, great. That's awesome. And that's not enough, because if I had known more about Holly's money language, not to steal from Gary Chapman, but money language, then I would know how I needed to interact with her, and vice versa, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because it's important to know, and you need to know. This may not change your marriage plans or wedding plans, but you need to know if your potential spouse is a saver or a spender.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that you call it off because you're both not savers. It just means that they have a language, you have a language about money, and a perspective about money that you need to communicate. You need to overly communicate so that nobody's on a different page.
And come up with a plan.
And come up with that plan, because it's so important to be on, because you don't want any surprises. What's the number one reason that people, besides infidelity or whatever, and what's the number one cause of marital stress and divorce? Money. It's the reason that I believe that God put so many verses about wealth and possessions in the Bible. It's the second most talked about topic in all of Scripture. You think that he wanted us to pay attention and talk about it. And God has got the blueprint, the outline for how couples should manage their finances. It's full of a wealth of information about money and possessions and relationships. So these are things you need to talk about before you're married. You need to understand the laws of the state that you're living in. Texas is a community property state, so everything is ours, right?
Whether you keep it apart or not.
Whether I keep it apart or not, it's ours if I accumulate it before marriage. And trust me, I had no money before we were married. So it's important to talk about those things and understand those things. Now, some people write in from time to time, and they'll write in about a prenup, or do we need a trust, and all those different things. Those are important questions. You need to talk about those things. I'm not a big fan of prenups, are you? I mean, from a legal perspective, I can hear the lawyers chiming in now. Oh, you need one. I think it sends the wrong message, right?
Yeah.
Hey, this is not a business transaction. This is not something that we're talking about breaking up eventually or the what if with that. It is just simply, sometimes some people feel that's needed.
There's probably a deeper issue if you.
Right. There's probably a deeper issue. And we know situations where people have had those and, well, guess what? Didn't last. And because of some deeper issues that were not resolved prior to getting married in the first place. So you want to make sure you're talking about those things. You don't have to do them, but you at least want to talk about that. And if you're not getting the response that you want from your significant other, fiance, then okay, that's a cause for pause, if you will. You also need to remember after you get married, you got to retitle assets like bank accounts and things like that so that they're in joint names, property, stuff like that. You want to make sure that it's in both your names or at least you're entitled to it. I know I got scolded the other day because all the car titles are in my name because I'm usually the one that buys them. So we'll get that fixed. That is not intentional. Also need to make sure that you update your beneficiaries on things like retirement accounts at work or life insurance. I've shared stories on this podcast before about a second marriage. The guy forgot to take his ex-wife off his life insurance. And the new couple had been married for 20-something years. Those things can really leave a bad taste in your mouth after you're gone if you don't take care of those things. And we kind of alluded to this right now is that kind of that notebook, that love notebook that says, here's what I want you to do. Here's who you should call. Here's where the documents are. That's so important to have that. It's a blessing because as I've said many times on the show, I want my spouse to be sad that I'm gone, not mad that I'm gone. Because if I leave her in a big mess, financial mess, she's not going to like me very much and may not come and put flowers on my grave or anything like that. So maybe in closing here, Holly, you might want to talk more about the importance of communication and, doing this as a partnership, if you will.
Well, I think that just like you were talking about before, praying first and then being open with each other and being honest, even about debt. If you're coming into a marriage and there's debt, being upfront about whether it's just school debt, whatever it might be, having it all out in the open, because certainly once the truth is out there, it's lit up and you can address it. But if it's hidden, it's just going to cause problems.
Yeah, hidden stuff is a bad thing, right?
Yes.
Very bad thing. Get it out there before you're married. Don't bring it in later on because that's not healthy, and she's going to be mad at you about those things. But you gotta commit to communicating and talking, and even when it's hard.
Yes.
Because it's hard. It's not this. We're making this sound like it's so easy, and we're all lovey-dovey and stuff, and it's a fun conversation. No, they're difficult conversations because you've only got finite resources, right? If you're fortunate to have two incomes, then you got that income. It's coming in, but you have to talk about these things so that you are on the same page and in agreement.
And you don't always come to agreement. You have to.
Yeah, we don't. And then we just do what Holly wants to do. So it's important to communicate. It's all I'm saying. Yes. And building that financial harmony is just as important as building a spiritual relationship, your marital relationship, physical relationship, and the inside that marriage is equally important for that. So I thank you for coming in and helping us do a couple of podcasts to talk about that. We'll probably have her back on sometime just for her perspective on a few things. But folks, if you need help finding a financial advisor that shares your values, you can visit us at clearvistafinancial.com. That's clearvistafinancial.com. Or send us an email. That's info@clearvistafinancial.com. And you can always text us on our text line, 254-282-0495. These are usually in the comments on our YouTube page. But if you're ready to take steps together as a couple and to steward your finances and your marriage well, reach out to us. Reach out to a financial advisor in your community And hopefully it's going to be one that's a certified Kingdom advisor, someone that's been through biblical training about finances and how they can help you communicate better, talk about things. And this is something certainly we can help you with, folks. So thank you, Holly, for being a part of this. And until next time, folks, you've been listening to the Spend Life Well Show.
Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Clear Vista Financial are not affiliated. Discussions in the show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions.